When Paul saw that his mother didn't want others to know his Chinese name, he immediately smiled and said, "Uncles and aunts, eat and drink and have fun. I will leave first." Jacob hurriedly said, "Oh, Paul, what are you going for in a hurry? Why don't you eat with us?" The reason why he wants to talk to Paul at this time is to let others see that he and Paul have known each other a long time ago. If this is the case, everyone can guess that he has already met Mei Qing before this meeting. In this way, everyone naturally knows that the relationship between the two is extraordinary, which can also make those who have ideas about Mei Qing retreat. When others heard the conversation between these two people, they did feel that something was not quite right. Why is Jacob so familiar with Paul? Paul smiled and said to him at this time, "I won't eat with my uncles and aunts at noon, because I still have business in the afternoon." Having said that, he specifically told Jacob that he asked Mr. Charlie to come to company in the afternoon to help him see feng shui, and he had to go and entertain him. Jacob smiled and nodded, and said, "My son-in-law has no other skills. It's okay to look at feng shui's skills. Let him take a look at yours when the time comes. He will definitely not ask you for money, otherwise, didn't he just drink the wine for nothing?" After that, Jacob said again, "Well, let me call him and let him give you a free bill." Xie Wenru on the side was very depressed when he heard this. What happened? Could it be that this Paul, Jacob, and Jacob's son-in-law have already drank together? When did this happen? Is it yesterday? Didn't Mei Qing just arrived in Orus Hill yesterday? Just arrived yesterday, and had dinner with Jacob and others? This is really a special treatment. Thinking of this, Xie Wenru felt a little uncomfortable. He not only thought to himself, does Mei Qing still like Jacob now? At this time, Paul smiled and said to Jacob, "Uncle Wilson, you don't need to be so polite. If you ask Mr. Charlie to wave me, then I'm ashamed to let him watch it for me." Mei Qing on the side also smiled and said, "Jacob, let's not interfere with the children's affairs." Jacob glanced at Xie Wenru and saw that her expression was very depressed, and he knew that his goal had been achieved, so he stopped talking to Paul about this, but smiled and said to him, "Okay, then you go ahead. Your mother is here to take care of me, so don't worry." Xie Wenru felt even more depressed when he heard him say this. What does he mean by this? Why does he feel like he is Paul's stepdad? Thinking of this, Xie Wenru held a fire in his heart, and thought to himself, Jacob, you already took Mei Qing 20 years ago. Now if you dare to ruin my good deeds, then I will not let you go." So he deliberately said loudly, "By the way, Jacob, what about your wife? That is the shrew who was very famous throughout our college. What is the name? It seems to be Elaine. Who knows what the name is?" An old classmate in the class smiled and said, "Yes, her name is Elaine." "Yes. It's Elaine." Xie Wenru smiled and said, "Jacob, I heard that you and Elaine are very affectionate. Your relationship should have deepened after so many years? Why didn't you call Elaine together today?" As soon as Jacob heard him mentioning Elaine, his face immediately became uncontrollable, and he blurted out, "Xie Wenru, which pot is not opened here? Elaine is not a classmate in our class, why must she be here?" Xie Wenru smiled and said, You have to figure out that you are a married man after all, so don't mess around with flowers outside. And don't be unruly towards other women. Otherwise, once Elaine's shrews know, she will definitely not spare you." Jacob suddenly became angry and blurted out, "Xie Wenru, what are you talking about here? When did I get in trouble, and when did I feel bad about other women? I tell you, don't think you have too bad money. You can point to Sang and curse here, Jacob will not eat yours." Mei Qing's expression was very embarrassed, and her voice became a little angry, and she said, "You two are endless, right? What I said just now, we are here for a class reunion today, not to make you arguing here. If you are still like this, then I will leave." Jacob said innocently, "Mei Qing, you heard it too, it's the old bastard Xie Wenru who is fanning the flames by the side." Xie Wenru was also a well-known Hong Kong businessman anyway, and he was confessed wherever he went. At this time, Jacob was scolded as an old bastard, and he was naturally very dissatisfied. So he slapped the table and stood up and shouted angrily, "Jacob, who the FCK do you say is the old bastard?" Jacob's this also came up, glaring at him and said, "I'm talking about you, what's wrong?" Xie Wenru said coldly, "Jacob, don't think it's an old classmate, I can't do anything to you. I tell you, you really annoy me. I make you can't eat. You think I am going back from Orus Hill to Hong Kong? Can I be bullied by a worm like you? Don't weigh what strength you have and yell at me." Jacob suddenly felt a little guilty. If he wanted to talk about his strength, he wouldn't even be able to get 10,000. The villa he lived in was also abducted by his son-in-law, and compared with a vendor like Xie Wenru, it was useless at all. If he really angered Xie Wenru, he might not be able to offend him. When he was riding a tiger, Paul hurriedly said, "Two uncles, this game is for my mother's team today, so please give my mother a face and don't quarrel in my mother's team." Jacob immediately borrowed the donkey from the slope and blurted out, "Paul, Uncle looks at your face and doesn't have the same knowledge as him." Xie Wenru said annoyedly, "After you scold me, you still say you don't have the same knowledge as me? Do you believe that I'm licking you now?" Mei Qing's expression became frosty, and she asked coldly, "Xie Wenru, what do you want? If you really don't listen to advice, then I can only ask you to go out. Don't blame me for disregarding the love of my classmates."